In episode 2, Joe shows up and is shocked to find that Love has killed Natalie. He immediately starts saying he's innocent of anything, but Love says, Joe, you kept a box. I know what that means. So now they need to go into cleanup mode. As Joe is trying to figure out how to get rid of Natalie's body and what to do, Love lets him know that she did sign a 3-year lease on the place, so maybe they could just keep the body there. But that's not going to be an option. Natalie has a very traceable cell phone, so they're going to have to dispose of the body. Joe tells Love, we need her to disappear, never to be found again. There's a state forest about 10 miles away. We can dump the body there. And Love says, yeah, that worked so well with Candace. And Joe then starts questioning what exactly Love did with that body, or Delilah's. Love has never told him, but she just simply says, I told you I took care of it. Joe then starts going through the different ways he's disposed of bodies before, including the meat grinder, which Love takes offense to because she used it all the time. But the stress of the whole situation gets to Love. She ends up leaving and telling Joe, you can take care of Natalie. You care about her more than our son anyway. So now it's up to Joe. He starts trying to plant the seeds. He puts Natalie's body in a bag, wraps it up, and then texts Matthew, I'm going to check out a rental, which is near the woods. He then puts it in Natalie's cell phone's GPS, hops in her car, and drives to that location. He stops off in the woods, starts burying the body, but as he's doing so, he tells himself, this isn't me. I've changed. I was good for Love. Look what she's made me do. At that moment, it's a breaking point. When Joe gets home, he's planning on grabbing Henry and leaving Love, getting out of there forever. But he still has a job to do with trying to make it look like Natalie just ran off. After burying her body, he heads to that rental property, opening up her cell phone and texting her sister to make it look like she ran off. But as he's doing so, he sees the text message conversation between Natalie and her sister, and Natalie asks her sister, tell me I shouldn't have sex with the boring neighbor. And Joe's a little hurt by the fact that he was considered the boring neighbor. He starts wondering if maybe Love was right. Either way, he texts Natalie's sister from her phone, marriage is a trap, going to clear my head. He then leaves the car there and hitchhikes back home. As he was disposing of Natalie's body, though, Love was at home with Henry, stressing out. When Dottie shows up, she tells Dottie, great, can you watch him? I need to go stock the shop. And this is the first that Dottie is hearing about this bakery. Dottie would have preferred that Love had talked to her first because the Quinn family finances are in flux. And Love knew about that, but I guess she didn't truly believe it. She can't help with a lease. So now Love has the Natalie thing to deal with, but she's also stressed out about that as well. She does, however, actually have to stock those shelves, so she heads to the grocery store where, as she's loading her groceries into her car, she ends up getting hit on by this Stanford college guy. He persists, but Love lets him know, I'm married. Both Love and Joe reconvene back at the house, and they do sign up for couples therapy. They end up going, but Joe thinks it's a complete waste of time. He hates it. Mainly because they can't actually talk about the real issue. They have to dance around it using code words. Can't exactly come out to your therapist and say, we're here because she ended up getting jealous and killing our neighbor. Joe does sort of come around a little bit once the therapist starts siding with him, surprisingly. But the therapist tells them that they need to come back ASAP. They need to figure out if they should be a couple. And then she gives them homework on how to communicate. Not react, but actually communicate. And they get their first test in that when they get home. And Love starts talking about what she's going to make for Andrew and Jackson's kid's birthday party. Joe is really surprised that they're still going to that. But Love says, you think it's not going to look fishy if us and Natalie are the only people in the neighborhood not there? Joe, however, doesn't want to pick a fight, so he says, sounds like what you need is some peace and quiet, so I'm going to grab Henry and head to the library. When Joe gets to the library, he asks the librarian to see the rare books section. And it takes a little convincing, but she finally takes him down to the basement and shows him. And it turns out nobody actually works in there. The librarian does when it's slow. She works on her drawings because she's an illustrator. But Joe didn't go down there to check out a book. He went down there to find a book. He starts distracting the librarian with questions when he finally finds the book he's looking for. Really, anything that he can refurbish and sell for Ellie. He ends up grabbing the book, getting out of the library, heading home, refurbishing the book, posting it on the black market, i.e. eBay. The next day, they head to Andrew and Jackson's kid's birthday party, and it's just what you would expect from a rich people's kid's birthday party. I mean, they're handing out iPads, for Christ's sake. Both Love and Joe go their separate ways. Love ends up going to set up her cupcakes when she sees Sherry, and Sherry's pretty surprised to see her after the way that she left the party the other night. She kind of just flaked out. Love says, oh, yeah, my mom was watching our kids, and, she kind of has an expiration time. And Sherry starts asking if her mom is addicted to pills or alcohol because of the situation with 40. But Love brushes it off and says no. She then lets both Sherry, Andrew, and Kiki know that she's planning on opening up a bakery on Main Street. She was hoping that they would be her guinea pigs, but they are not interested at all. In fact, they get really quiet, and they start making excuses as to why they can't eat the cupcakes, even though Love has taken every precaution to make it gluten-free, keto, non-GMO, you name it. They don't want it. Love tells Sherry, they're lemon raspberry, because Love did her research. She knows that Sherry's wedding cake was lemon raspberry. But Sherry goes, yeah, I don't like lemons or raspberries, but, put them out. And then leaves. So Love's going to have to keep working on the relationship with Sherry. Joe, meanwhile, was out with the dads, his own personal hell. The most normal dad is this guy, Glenn, but Joe doesn't even like him. Glenn, however, reads at the local library. He's seen Joe. He suggests that maybe they carpool together, but Joe has no interest in that whatsoever. All of the dads then hear a scream, and it's Sherry. And you think it's a real emergency? It's not. Her kids got into the cupcakes. She starts grabbing the cupcakes out of their mouth, and Love says, oh, no, Sherry, they're sugar-free. And Sherry yells at her, they have raspberries in them. Raspberries have sugar. We don't allow our children to have sugar. It's pretty awkward, and Love is pretty embarrassed about it. Carrie, though, pulls Joe aside and says, hey, man, don't worry about it. I'll calm her down. We have the twins reading Matthew's vital rings, and then he pulls out his phone and shows him the app, because he's showing him that the blood pressure hasn't spiked at all. They're completely fine. But this is the first that Joe is hearing about these vital rings from Matthew's tech company. And these rings that he finds out the entire neighborhood is wearing follow your heart rate, your blood sugar. And that's when it dawns on Joe, if the whole neighborhood's wearing it, then Natalie was definitely wearing it. Which means that Matthew can track where she is, but also heart rate. So as soon as Love and Joe get out of that party, they had to go dig up that body. They dig it up, they find the ring, but now they have to move the body somewhere else. The body can't be the same place where the ring died. They end up hiding it at the rental property, making it look like she took the ring off in the sink when she washed her hands. But now they need to get rid of the body. Joe drives to a construction site where they're going to lay foundation the next day. Figures this will be the perfect place to dump a body. But Love is a little concerned about the fact that Joe just knew about this place. Joe explains that it was a backup in case something went wrong. And Love starts insinuating that Joe has all of these places picked out on where to dump a body. I.e., he's got all these places figured out on where he's going to dump Love's body. Joe starts acting like she's nuts, but she brings up the fact that he had a hook to her throat, and everything changed when she said that she was pregnant. This spurns a pretty big fight, with Love pointing out that Joe is kind of hypocritical. When Joe does things, he's got reasoning for it, but when she does similar things, she's looked at as crazy. Love is well aware of the fact that Henry is the only reason why she's alive. She screams at him, I can't trust you. He screams at her, I can't trust you. He yells at her, because of you, I'm probably going to be burying bodies till I'm 70. If you get jealous, you're just going to kill somebody. And she points out, well, if I'm not enough for you, you're just going to kill me. They end up actually talking about this in their next therapy session. And this one goes way better than the first one. The first one, the big reveal was that Joe was planning on leaving. In this therapy session, the big breakthrough is when the therapist says that they are not killers, which is pretty ironic. Either way, they leave this therapy session feeling a lot better than the first one. It seems like they're both on the same page. They're in this for Henry, but the therapist does say, children can't be handcuffs. You guys have to be a team. Later that night, Love and Henry are playing outside when Joe sees it. That thing that made him fall in love with love. The thing that made him obsessed with love. The honesty, the beauty. At that moment, he wants to be forgiven for everything he's done to her. He gets down and tells her, I'm not just all in with our son, I'm all in with you as well. All of a sudden, their relationship truly seems back on track. They start working on the bakery, but one of the big things they put in there is a box, just in case. In the meantime, they're going to use it as storage for flour and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that the trust issues are gone, because Joe hides a key and Love does the exact same thing. A few days later, they open up their new bakery, a fresh tart. As Love is waiting for her first customers, she sees Sherry and Andrew jog by, and she waves at them, but Sherry just gives her a pretty dirty look. But that's Love's job. Joe needs a job, so he heads to the library in the hopes that maybe refurbishing an old book can get him hired. The best the librarian gives him, though, is, I'll consider it. That night, though, Love cannot shake what's going on in the house next door. She needs to figure out exactly what Matthew's thinking, so she decides, I'll just bring over some cupcakes. But when she knocks on the door, she's surprised that that frat boy from the parking lot answers. His name's Theo, and it turns out that he is Matthew's stepson. Matthew ends up showing up a little bit later and thanks Love for the cupcakes, but quickly shuts the door. And when Love gets home, that's when she sees why. Because the cops have shown up. And now, both Love and Joe are kind of nervous. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. But once again, thank you for checking out this recap.